Hi there guys, I'm Danny and welcome to this episode of All Monsters Go to Space. So today I'm going to be covering the legendary Beast of Gévaudan, requested by Bright Star of Fern Clan. So this beast was believed to have been a large man-eating wolf that terrorized the Gévaudan region, an area which is now the department of Lozère and Haute-Loire in France. Descriptions of the beast vary quite wildly. Some said it was the size of a cow that had a flat head with reddish fur that had a dark stripe down its back. It also had spots on its side, a sturdy body that tapered toward the rear, and its tail was thin with a tassel. Doesn't this sound a little like a lion or a hyena? Now, the aristocracy had been known to bring exotic creatures over from their original countries and were unable to care for them. The animals could then have gotten loose, and obviously the French people of the time had absolutely no idea what these creatures were, and so could easily believe them to be mythical monsters. But I digress. The beast would also possess Herculean strength, be able to jump 9 meters in one leap, have a rough tongue, and had a terrifying barking roar. Also, their prints were 16 centimeters in length and had claws. An account by Duhamel said the beast's torso was as wide as a horse's, with a long body like a leopard, again with red fur and a black stripe. And he thought that the father of the creature was a lion, with an unknown entity for a mother. Whereas Lafond's description differs. He said that it was bigger than an ordinary wolf, with a snout like a cow and long hair which could hint at a hyena. Another description has said that they were wolf-like, but big like a calf, a dog-like head with small and straight ears, again the same reddish fur with a black stripe, and it describes him as having a large mouth and a wide chest. The beast's reign of tyranny started in 1764 and lasted until 1767. The first recorded attack by the beast was in 1764. In the early summer of said year, there was a young woman tending to her cattle near the Mossoir forest in the eastern part of the Gévaudan region. It is said that she saw the beast approaching, but her bulls kept it away by charging. It came back again, but was then permanently seen off. Not too long after, Jean Boulet was found dead near the small village of Les Hubacs, not too far away from the first victim. She was only 14. It was believed to have been the beast because of the nature of her wounds. More and more reports of the beast came forward in 1764. It was reported that said beast would prey on lone travellers regardless of age, and also those that were tending their cattle near the forests. Because of this, a mass spread terror had gripped Gévaudan. By the end of this year, a belief that there were at least 2 beasts had become common. The sheer number of attacks and the various locations that had been recorded, some apparently at the same time, had led to this. There had even been sightings of the beast with another beast or with its young. As is normal with legends like this, especially from that time period, the actual number of victims differ with every version. One source has totaled the attacks as 210, with at least 113 resulting in death, the rest only injuries, whereas another reported 60 to 100 fatalities and 30 or more injuries. I'm sure there are other records that can be found that differ even greatly. So in early 1765, a group of people were attacked. Jacques Portefeuille and at least 7 others managed to fight off the beast. By now, and it has even been said that it was this particular encounter, brought the Beast of Gévaudan to the attention of the current monarchs. It was not uncommon for aristocracy to invest time and resources into the supernatural. If it piqued their interest, they got it researched. So as was his way, Louis XV awarded Portefeuille 300 livres, with a further 350 being shared between the others. The king also put a lot of manpower into hunting the beast. The new hunting party consisted of noblemen, soldiers, royal huntsmen, and even ordinary citizens. Now these hunting parties didn't seem to be too successful, but at least Portefeuille got a state education out of it all. So 3 weeks after Portefeuille's incident, the king sent for 2 professional wolf hunters. There were Jean-Charles Marc-Antoine Vaumer de Onneval, a mouthful I know, and Jean-François, his son. They readily came, arriving in Clermont-Ferrand in the February of that year. The men brought 8 trained bloodhounds, and the 4 months following, they hunted primarily the Eurasian wolves, as they believed that this was the beast. Unfortunately, the attacks continued, and they were fired. The king now brought in François Antoine, sometimes called Antoine du Botten. This guy had been the king's arquebus bearer, which is a type of long gun, and was now the lieutenant of the hunt, and he arrived in La Mazure on June 22nd. By By September, he had killed 3 large grey wolves. Now one of these beings, the largest, had been named Le Loup de Chazé, and it was a very large wolf, bigger than normal. Survivors came forward and identified Le Loup de Chazé as Le Bête du Gévaudan by its scars. The creature was then stuffed and sent to Louis XV in Versailles. Antoine himself was given a hero's welcome and received titles, awards and a grand sum of money. But this was short-lived, I guess. On December 1765, another attack happened. Good news though, I don't think Monsieur Antoine had any of his winnings taken away from him. So this new attack had actually injured 2 men, and then a dozen or so more deaths came flooding in from the La Bazière-Sainte-Marie region. Eventually this beast was killed by a local hunter, Jean Chastel, who was part of the Marquis d'Argent's organised hunting group. The date was June 19, 1767, the end of the reported incidents. So many people today have varying theories on these beasts, but according to modern scholars, they believe that because of the time the reports came from, that the attacks were actually due to a pack or packs of wolves. This could be plausible, because in the 18th century throughout Europe, wolf attacks were always a huge thing, especially near forests. It led to over 10,000 deaths in this century alone. Other people again believe that, from the descriptions, it was actually lions that had escaped from nearby zoos or nearby palaces. If you like the idea of the beast, then there is quite a bit of popular culture you could dive into. Teen Wolf covered them in the 6th episode of season 1, and then again, but this time it is the main focus I believe, in the second half of the 5th season. The TV series Animal X also had them in one episode, and there is a 2001 film called Brotherhood of the Wolf. I also believe that the Beast of Gévaudan is actually ever so slightly mentioned in the Wolfman film. The silver cane that gets handed over to one of the other characters has the head of the beast on it, and if you prefer to read about them, then Robert Louis Stevenson, the author of Treasure Island and The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, mentioned them in his book Travels with a Donkey in the Cevennes. And then there's the original novel, La Bête du Gévaudan by Elie Berthet in 1858. So I do apologise for my French pronunciation, but I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hadn't really heard too much about this creature, so I was super psyched to look further into it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!